Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we are ranking the albums of Toto. Todd Evans is here. Tim Durling's here. Who else would be here? We're doing it. Let's
Talking bands no one talks about. Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight was a task that was, shall we say, quite difficult for all the members of this panel. We are going to rank the albums of the band Toto. Now, if anybody knows anything about Toto, they started out in 1977. They were basically all studio musicians that decided to come together to, well, form a band. They've had a lot of lineup changes, and it basically became the Steve Lukather band. It's kind of a joke, but not really, but kind of did. But we're just going to rank the 16 studio albums. Now, we're going to include Dune, which some people consider a Toto album, some you don't, but it's, according to the credits, it's a Toto album. And they also had an album that came out kind of like a bonus disc on the box set. Here's the box set, which, if you're going to get into this catalog, this box set is absolutely killer. All this was remastered, and the sound quality on it, I have nothing to do with Toto, but if you're going to dive in and do it and you don't have any catalog, this is well worth getting. So the other record was, the last thing that originally came out on the box set was an album called Old is New, which was basically, it was them re-recording old tracks, correct? They weren't remixed so much, but they kind of took tracks that were in the catalog that...
Yeah, some things that weren't finished before.
Right, and they basically finished them.
Yeah.
And this is quite good, to be honest, but it only originally came out in this box set, but then they eventually put it out. But anyway, yeah, the box set's great. Wonderful, great stuff. But we're going to try and attempt to rank the catalog. And God, I hope we can do it. We'll try to keep it brief. We'll try to go.
We'll try to keep it moving, yeah.
There's a lot of this stuff. I will say some of these records sound very similar to the other records. I don't think that there's really a bad record amongst them. You just have to rank these records somewhere. And, you know, we're just here to talk music and turn you on to stuff. And hopefully you might want to check out Toto if you haven't. And if you have, let us know in the comments, because we do want to hear from you. How would you rank these albums? Are we crazy in our rankings when we're done? We want to hear. So we'll keep it interactive. So, gentlemen, that was quite a spiel in the beginning. So we're going to get ranking, and I think we probably should go. We've got 16 records. Do we want to go?
I think we should go one at a time and just try to
want to just do it?
Yeah,
I think so too.
All right. The panel has weighed in on this, and we're just going to go from our 16 down. All right, I'm going to throw it over to Todd Evans first. We'll go Todd, Tim, and then I. We will go around, and this should be something, so brace yourselves. All right, let's go.
Okay, so just to show how hard this was, I'm going to show my rough draft cheat sheet. This is very tiny. Don't pause this and blow it up. But there's one there that changed places 8 times. So that's what we're dealing with here. But my number 16 is Dune, because it has to go somewhere. I think Dune Desert Theme, the actual Toto instrumental on this album, is super great. It's one of my favorite instrumentals of all time. The rest of the album, it doesn't. I mean, there's Toto right there on the back, but you know, it's a soundtrack and it's good, but it's got to go somewhere.
It's
so
a soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I scored this. I didn't have this, gentlemen, and I scored this off of where did I get this? I think I might have got this off eBay, but this is original made in West Germany.
You've got
version.
a Polydor. I've got the Collector's Pipeline, which I wish I had a Polydor.
This has the smooth side.
Basically made for sci-fi nerds.
And for you CD nerds, it still has the smooth-sided
nice.
jewel case from back in the day. This, and you know, of course, it's built like a tank, but man, look at that. It's absolutely beautiful. Little CD porn for you. But yeah, it's got to go somewhere. So Dune. All right, Tim Durling.
Okay, so my number 16, and yeah, there are no bad albums. It's just there's some that are more memorable than others. From 1999, I'm going to go with the album Minefields. Got this Russian cassette here, wherever I got it from.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this album, this was Bobby Kimball's return to the band after quite a long time. And all the songs on here, I think, are either sung by Bobby or by Steve Lukather. And it's not a bad album, but I find there's a couple things with it. Number one, it's too long. There's too many songs on it. And I just don't remember any. I remember like Caught on the Balance is pretty good. No Love is pretty good. Those are the only two of all the songs on here. And there are something like, well, I don't think the cassette has all the songs. It's at 13 listed. Either that or they're long songs. But it had to go somewhere. It's not a bad
14.
album. 14, yeah. So this cassette is missing one. But anyway, yeah, it's too long and just not that memorable those Toto hooks. I don't hear them on Minefields, just my opinion. But still quality music.
Awesome. All right. Good choice. Good choice. I rated that higher, but that's okay. This is what we're here about. Now I'm gonna Todd and I are tag teaming on this one. I'm gonna go my number 16's Dune, and for everything that Todd said, this is a soundtrack album. There's a lot of instrumentals. I'd say there are 2 tracks on here that you could listen to it and go, oh, that's Toto. The rest is just incidental music, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you want it for Toto, I don't think this is just more of a curiosity. If you're a completist, you'll want the Dune soundtrack. But it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. I just don't think it's, a must-have. So that's number 16. Let's jump over to our number 15, Todd Evans.
All right, number 15 for me is Through the Looking Glass. This is their album of cover songs. There are some things on here that are absolutely spectacular. Bodhisattva, the Steely Dan song, Burn Down the Mission, and Watching the Detectives, I think, are just stellar. The rest of it is a bunch of songs I don't really care for. So I get kind of bored with it. And so fantastic recording, sounds great. Simon Phillips is amazing as usual, but it sits close to the bottom for me. Glad they did it.
I'm tag teaming Todd along with that one too. That's my number 15. It's Through the Looking Glass. It's another really rare cassette. For the most part, these are very unimaginative choices to cover for songs. I mean, While My Guitar Gently Leaps. Look, Steve sings it great, and they do it a lot in concert. But do we need another version of it? Sunshine of Your Love, House of the Rising Sun. Come on, guys. You guys are brilliant musicians and you're musicologists. Some of the choices are really good. The Steely Dan song, which I can never pronounce. That's awesome. And there's a lot of Toto history with Steely Dan. It's well played, but I want to hear Toto. I don't really have a problem with these bands doing covers albums because there were a lot of them that came out around this time. I mean, Rush did Feedback, and Def Leppard did Tesla did the Reel to Reel, the 2 CD set. Aerosmith's Honkin' on Bobo was pretty much all covers. It was a thing that was happening. So I don't begrudge them that, and they obviously had fun with it, but it's just not one that I return to that much.
All right, cool. And I am going along with these gentlemen. Through the Looking Glass is my number 15. I don't have to add anything more to it. It is what it is. Hey, it was a thing of the time. And do you need it? No, you don't need it. It's just not a big fan of it. It belongs at the spot at number 15. If you're a completist, yes, you need it, but you don't really need it. All right, Todd Evans, number 14.
Okay, well, here comes the hate mail. Number 14 for me is Turn Back.
Okay.
For me, Turn Back. Well, here's the first thing that's wrong with it. Produced by Jeff Workman. So it's got that whole add lots of distortion to the drums and make them sound really big and fat, but weird. So it's got head games, Foreigner head games drums.
It's the Roy Thomas Baker thing. Why is he with the distorted drums? Why?
Jeff Workman was an engineer for Roy Thomas Baker.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the connection. And this album has a lot of what I like to call like Toto surprises, like those little instrumental flourishes that are just kind of dazzling. This album has a few of those. Goodbye Eleanor is great. Give Golden Gun English Eyes. It's got the first song that Lukather ever wrote for the band, which was Live for Today. And not very memorable songs, and I think that's the problem with it, is that it just the songs just don't stick for me. And I've had a long time, came out in 1981. Had a long time to let it sink in, and it just never does. So that's my number 14.
All right, cool. All right. Wow, we're actually zipping through here pretty good. I'm surprised, but all
Yeah.
right. We're seasoned professionals, for God's sake. All right, Tim.
We are, yeah. So my number 14, they both already mentioned it, is the Dune soundtrack. Mine's actually a Canadian Polydor edition.
Nice.
Yeah, probably the exact same CD that Grant has, just a different stamp on the back where it's from. I mean, the band themselves don't even consider this one of their albums, because otherwise the seventh one would have been the eighth one. So this came out in 1984, as did another one of their albums. But my this is perfectly good incidental music. I mean, there's dialogue from the movie in some of the tracks. There's one track on here by Brian Eno, the Prophecy theme. But compared to, say, other bands that have done things like this, like Queen's Flash Gordon has two actual songs on it, two vocal songs on it. This doesn't have any. You know, I almost wonder, like, when I see a title like Take My Hand, they could have fleshed that out into an actual song and had, no, it wouldn't have made sense in context of a science fiction movie, but there's plenty of soundtracks that have songs that aren't in the actual movie. They could have done a vocal version of a couple of the songs on here. There are some interesting melodies, but they don't, and you know, you guys have said it. If I didn't know this was Toto, I would have just thought, well, this is just, I don't know, is it John Williams? Is, you know, who?
Could be
I
anybody.
don't, you know. So, and it's, you know, when I was first getting into Toto, it was a while before I realized that, okay, well, this is kind of a Toto album too, so I'd better have it. So that's my number 14.
All right, cool. All right, 14, right? Is that what we said? All right.
Yeah.
All right, my number 14 is not a bad record by any means. We already talked about it. There's really not a bad album in the whole Toto artillery, but I'm going to go with Toto 20, which came out in May of 1998. Now, the reason I'm putting this so low is because this is a compilation. If rare demos, outtakes, previously unreleased stuff, live tracks. It's just like a compilation record, a hodgepodge. I think it sounds great. And, you know, I was just going to say, even though it's an odd collection of songs, you do have Bobby Kimball back singing on a track, which is great, because I'll talk about Bobby Kimball later, my thoughts on Bobby Kimball. But he got kicked out of the band early on because, was it alcohol or drugs or something? He was not a good boy. So they kicked him out, but he ended up coming back. But the thing is with Toto 20, I'm surprised how strong or how well the songs all go together for being just a hodgepodge of material. The only reason I'm putting it here, because it's really not, is it a real album? Well, they consider it is, but it's kind of a compilation. You know, would this have come out normally? Probably not. But it has to go somewhere, and I don't think it's bad by any means. So worth checking out, I think. Not horrible, but not really something that's really important. So that's why I ranked it so low. All right, Tom.
All right. Well, another controversial choice for me. This album used to be incredibly high when I was in high school. This would have been way, way up. But Hydra is my number 13. And let me tell you why. Hydra, the song, St. George and the Dragon, and 99 are absolutely brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. And then for me, the album just dies. I have completely lost patience with side 2. I think side 2 is completely unmemorable. I think A Secret Love is weird and not, doesn't hold together well. I think All Us Boys is embarrassing. I just feel like that has not aged well at all. And I just really don't like side 2. Totally front loaded. Hydra, St. George and the Dragon in 99, man, it doesn't get much better than that. But then this album goes, phew. So for lack of consistency, I'm putting it at number 13.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this may have broken the internet. This might
put my address so that all the hate mail goes to the proper
Todd's
place.
address down below. So when all the Toto fans rush the gates.
So here I was thinking I'd be the one with the raised eyebrows. Okay. So my number 13, now there are a lot of diehard Toto fans that'll swear by this album and talk about what a great return to form it was. And I'm not hearing it. It's falling in between 2006. This CD is really hard to find now, guys. I've got myself a promo copy. That's what I was able to find. And I've just got a promo CD. Tears. And kind of like Minefields, I can't think of how any of these songs go. I know everybody talks about Bottom of Your Soul and the title song and Dying on My Feet. I can't think of how they go. I've tried. I cannot get this album ingrained. And this was the another, there were quite long gaps between albums. So Bobby Kimball was back for this one last time. They got Greg Fillinganes in the band now, and it was unfortunately the last thing that Mike Porcaro played on before he died. But yeah, certainly musicianship is amazing, but I just cannot get into this album. I'm going to keep on trying, but for now, it's my number 13.
All right. Wow. I love this. This is so much fun. God, you guys are all over it. Okay. What was that? 14? Now we're
13.
That should have been 13.
Yeah, because my number system's one off. So, okay, we're good. We're good. Just so I know what I'm doing. All right. No one's mentioned this one yet, but this one came out in May of 1993. I'm going to go with Kingdom of Desire. Now, this was a big departure. For one, this wasn't, it was down to Steve Lukather, the Porcaro brothers, and I always butcher his name, David Pack. Page. Why do I do that?
David Pack is from Ambrosia.
No, I always get them confused. Although I know a big difference between Ambrosia and Toto. But this is a lot harder edge. Lead singer Joseph Evans had a short-term tenure with the band. He's out. They just slimmed it down. And it's basically, when I listen to this, now I don't want to upset anybody. I'm not trying to piss anybody off, but let me just say this. It's a lot of Steve Lukather. And it's a lot of Steve Lukather singing. And as all the singers and all the great vocalists Toto has had over the years, Steve Lukather's not one of them. He's okay, but I don't want to hear a whole album of Steve singing. I like Toto when we have a lot of different vocalists, when people trade off, people come in. I like that. And I think Toto needs a really strong vocalist. Yeah, everybody can sing. I don't have a problem with that. But it's just got a lot of hard rock and guitar, and it's mostly Steve Lukather, and I kind of look at it as a Steve Lukather solo album. Others may disagree. Tell me how you feel down below, just how I see it. And I really don't care for this record at all, but it's okay.
Ooh. Oh, this is so good.
Yeah,
I just don't get it because it's just so out of left field. Some people may applaud that.
There are a lot of reasons, Grant, why that album is the way it is, and it wasn't Steve's choice to sing everything.
Okay, well, I have too much Steve on here.
Bad run.
Oh well, I know, obviously,
yeah.
But I don't think this was a good move because on the following record, they kind of fixed it. So anyway, there you go. That would be, what was that, 13? You're gonna have to. I
should have been. Yes, that was
13 because my numbering system's one off. So
this will be my 12.
Yeah.
Okay, number 12. All right. Go ahead, Todd. I said what I could. Hate mail below. I'll leave my address. Just feel free to.
My number 12 is Minefields. All right, I'm going to tell you what I like about it. This happens a couple more times. Produced by Toto and Elliot Shiner. Elliot Shiner is a genius. He may be the best engineer ever, and everything he touches sounds like $1 million. Yeah. And I have to say that there are 4 or 5 pretty good songs on this. There's a kind of a proggy song towards the end. One of my top 3 Toto songs is Last Love. And out of all of the Lukather sung ballads, Last Love is my favorite. I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautifully sung. It's the most soulful that Steve Lukather ever sounds. But this thing is 1 hour and 13 minutes long. And that to me is just unforgivable. It takes so long to get through. And at the time it came out, I was happy to have a Toto album, but I also really didn't want, I'm a big Joseph Williams fan. So I actually didn't want Bobby Kimball to come back. I was really rooting for Joseph Williams to come back. So I was not super thrilled about Bobby Kimball's return. But some great songs on there, but it's got to go at 12. Too long.
Yeah,
And that's a Prog fan saying that.
yeah. It's a long album. They're
Yeah,
certainly not the first band to do it, but yeah.
It
But
was
that was the
era.
time for it. That was, what is this, 90, 98, 99? That was
Yeah.
peak long album.
Yeah.
All right.
So my number 12 has been mentioned already. It's The Old Is New. And yeah, this came out. I didn't get the box set because I had most of the albums on it, except for the Live in Tokyo, which I need to get because they eventually put that out by itself too. But they put this out as a standalone release. So it's got 11 tracks on it. 3 of them already appeared on the 2018 compilation 40 Trips Around the Sun. And they were Alone, Struck by Lightning, and Spanish Sea, all of which I think are really good. Joseph Williams is back, and he sounds so good on these songs. And Spanish Sea is actually a song that I think dates back to 1994 or 1984. So it's got Jeff Porcaro and Mike Porcaro basically on the rhythm section, and they turned it into a pretty decent little song. I think Fearful Heart is great. Devil's Tower. The only thing I don't like on this is well, I guess it does have 10 tracks on it, but the last track is called We'll Keep on Running, is What So Not. I said that correctly. What So Not, and Toto featuring Skrillex. And it's about what it sounds like. It's just a noisy backing track with Joseph and Luke singing some parts. It could have been a good song if they'd have done it but anyway, there's enough on here to recommend it. You know, Chelsea's another great song. They got to have another song with a girl's name in it. They were about Duke. So I think this holds together. It sounds unified. Doesn't sound like Odds and Sods. It sounds like a unified release. And
Odds and Sods the Who, which is great.
Like it. I like it well enough to put it at number 12.
All right. Great minds think alike, at least at this stage at number 12. I'm going also with Old Is New. Everything that Tim said, I totally 100% agree with. This is not a bad album by any means. But what's so not with Toto and Skillrex or whatever the hell that is not good. I don't like it. But yeah, I think it's great. And what was this? Was this added to the box set so people would buy it? Probably.
Might have been, yeah.
Other than up track 10, I don't really have a problem with it. But would this album really have come out? You know what I mean? It's kind of a concoction. Let's just put something together. Even though they did a fine job, don't get me wrong. Great stuff on here. And you have to admit, holy crap, the vocals on here are just absolutely stunning. What a great vocalist. But it is what it is. So that's my number 12. Let's go over number 11, Todd Evans.
All right. My number 11 is Tambu. This is the album that came out after Kingdom of Desire with pretty much the same 4-man lineup. Dave, Mike, well, this one has Simon instead of Jeff Porcaro and Luke. Again, produced by Elliot Shiner, so it sounds great. A little bit too much backing vocals from people that aren't in the band on this for my liking. The backing vocals, especially the female vocals, they fit the songs really, really well. This is a little bit bluesier, kind of like Kingdom of Desire is, but it's got I Will Remember, which is one of my, probably number 3 or number 4 Toto songs. And talk about a song that sounds great. One of Luke's best ballads. There's some really great songs on here. The Other End of Time. Dave's Gone Skiing is kind of a companion piece to Jake to the Bone. It's kind of a jazz fusion instrumental thing, which is pretty cool. Again, 12 tracks, a little too long, not as bad as Minefields, but I thought that it might end up higher, but I put it at 11.
There you go. I like the cover on this, though.
I think the cover's great.
Yeah, it reminds me of Alice Cooper, Lace and Whiskey a little bit.
Yeah.
But I love it. There's so much detail. I love
it.
Yeah.
11, my 11 is also Tambu. And I agree with what Todd said. I mean, there's too many non-Toto vocalists on here. I think what they were doing was trying to Page obviously didn't want to sing anymore, or he went through a period where he didn't want to sing any songs,
Yeah.
which is a shame because he's got one of those powdery type voices. I always liked his vocals.
Yeah.
But yeah, and a little too R&B for me, you know, like Baby He's Your Man, like yeah, a little bit too much R&B for me. But I will remember that is a killer ballad. I mean, that'll just rip the heart out of you. Gift of Faith to me could have been on Kingdom of Desire. It's a you know, a harder rocking song. One of my favorites on this album is Drag Him to the Roof. You do hear David Page a little bit in that chorus, and it's really, you know, up tempo, and Simon Phillips, you know, a monster on the drums. Great, you know, he was a great replacement for Jeff. Yeah, The Road Goes On, like that one too. I like Dave's Gone Skiing, but just a little bit too much of that outside influence. So that's why it's at number 11 for me.
All right, cool. All right, my number 11. I can't believe I rated this higher than you gentlemen, but I've been surprised the whole show about how we're ranking this stuff. I'm going to go with Minefields. And All Is Well and Bobby Kimball is back on this record. Well, at least you thought. Bobby couldn't save this record either. Though I put it at 11 because I do like Bobby Kimball. Because when I think of Toto, I think there's a certain tonality within the band. And when Bobby Kimball's with the band, to me, it sounds like Toto. Because he was a big force. He had that great vocals. He has a lot of personality. But Bobby can't save this record. It is a bloated mess. Though I do like some of it. If this could have been trimmed down to 40 minutes, you might have really had something. But when we have nine songs.
Yeah, well, you know what?
One of the things
one of the things that I'll say this real quick. One of the things that bogs down this period for the band is all the songs are too long. They all should stop at 4, but they go to 6, 7, sometimes 8.
Yeah, we're jamming. We're jamming.
Trimming.
If they can do that live to their heart's content,
right?
Give us, get to the point.
These guys are incredible players, but we're not the Allman Brothers here. These guys just don't.
And it's also not Prog either.
And it's not Prog.
Yeah.
What happens when you have Toto with long drawn out tracks is you have long drawn out boredom. It's boring. I appreciate the production. The production's great. All these guys can play, but keep the tracks short. You guys aren't Allman Brothers. You're not a Prog band. Yeah, Bobby's back. I'm good with that, but Bobby couldn't.
They're Prog adjacent.
Prog adjacent. I wrote that.
Yeah, they've definitely got the chops, but yeah.
It's bloated. So yeah, I put it at where are we at 11? I put it at 11. But it is a mess. So yeah, that's my 11. All right, on to number 10. Oh,
my number 10. We're into the top 10. This is so exciting. My number 10 is number 20, or I have always called this Toto XX, which I know is wrong, but that's what I see. And so that's what I call it. When this album came out, I was really excited about it. And the only reason it doesn't rank higher is because, you know, it's got 3 live songs at the end, and it's got, you know, it doesn't flow that well as an album, but Going Home is great. But the thing that I love about this record is Right Part of Me. And that song has Bobby Kimball singing on it. That song is full on production with strings, and that was meant to go on the successor to Toto IV. And if that song had gone on Isolation, that would have been incredible. But when you listen to that song, you think of it and you think of it and you think this is kind of what the follow-up to Toto IV might have sounded like. I think that song is beautiful. It's got a little instrumental part in it that they say in the liner notes that it's good around Christmas. It actually kind of sounds like the Little Drummer Boy. But it's real pretty, and I just think that's a great song. So that song propelled this album to number 10.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when we listen, well, we haven't got to Isolation yet, but when I do listen to that, it as a record and as a follow-up to Toto IV, if we would have had Bobby Kimball back and kept that momentum going, think we would have had something. But yeah, that makes this,
Yeah.
that track. You're 100% right. So good choice. All right. All right, Tim, you're up.
So my number 10, other than the Dune soundtrack, this is kind of my first venture into the, the quote unquote classic period of Toto, but we're in the top 10. So I'm going to go with Fahrenheit, which is a very, very mellow album. It really is. There really isn't anything on here I would call a rocker. That doesn't mean it's not good. Joseph Williams right away proves himself. That opener till the end. I mean, that's got chops galore, and he's just, saying his face off. It's interesting though. It doesn't seem like CBS had a lot of faith in him, because the two singles they put out were both Lukather songs, I'll Be Over You, which was a huge hit, and Without Your Love. So I'm not sure. That's the second time they did that, by the way. They got a new singer, but they didn't put singles. There's a video to Till the End. They must have put that out as a single, but didn't do anything. I'll Be Over You.
Yeah, I think it was third.
Yeah, I'll Be Over You is one of my favorite Toto songs ever. It's one of the first videos I think I ever saw from them. Of course, it's got Michael McDonald on the background vocals. Can't Stand It Any Longer, really like that one. But overall, it's really mellow. I mean, it's a really, really mellow album. Again, not saying that's a bad thing, but it really leans into that side of their sound. And I myself could do with a couple of rockers. But anyway, Fahrenheit, my number 10.
All right, cool. All right, excellent. All right, my number 10, I'm going to go with, geez, Grant, watch out. I got a little mouse happy there. I'm going to go with album from February 14th, 2006. I'm going to go with Falling in Between. That's my number 10. I don't think this is one of their major works. It's a little bit more proggy and a lot more creative, and it's a lot shorter than Minefields. So
thank goodness.
I give it, thank goodness gracious. That's why I give it one more. Bobby Kimball. Bobby's still on this one. And I think it's okay. I already said I like Bobby Kimball, so that's why I give this some props. They had a keyboard player, Greg. God, I can't pronounce it. Gaines only was around for one record.
He has toured with Toto pretty regularly.
Yeah.
He's more known for playing with Michael Jackson, but he's in the current version of Toto.
Okay, yeah. But he's good. I have no issue
with
this.
He's come and gone. But he's great.
Yeah. Well, he's a studio, like he's played with everybody. Like, I mean, his credits are a mile long, almost like Lukather's are.
Yeah.
I think there's again, we're on this period. I think there's a lot of filler on here, but I think Bobby sounds great. I mean, would I recommend this to somebody? I mean, if you're a completist, I probably would, probably go for this. I just don't think it's a great work. I do think that the band sounds a little bit more lively on this record, and they don't sound like they're going through the motion so much. It's still a good record. Not one of their best, but it's middle of the road. I'll give you that. So I think I rated it. Did you rate that yet, Todd? Did you do that one already? I know Tim did. Falling in Between.
Oh, no, not yet.
Okay. Well, Tim rated it a bit lower. I rated higher, and obviously Todd likes it more than we do. So we'll get to there. So that's our number 10. Let's keep this dog moving. Let's go to our number 9.
All right. My number 9 is Kingdom of Desire. And I have mentioned this before on other shows, but I only started liking things that sound bluesy like in the last 10 years of my life. When I was a young person, I heard Gypsy Train, and I was like, this album was such a slow burn for me. But over the years, it has grown in stature pretty significantly. And I think Don't Chain My Heart is great. I think How Many Times is great. I think Two Hearts is great. I think Only You is fantastic. It kind of doesn't seem like there's a ballad on here, but you sort of have to really dive deep into the album to find it. But it's really good. I think She Knows the Devil and Kick Down the Walls are examples of songs that have a lot of energy and sound a little bit un-Toto-like, but at the same time, kind of a breath of fresh air. And I think Jake to the Bone is amazing. And this is really the first time that Toto actually tried to do that. It's a straight up fusion instrumental. And man, do they do it well. 12 tracks, should probably be shorter, should probably be 10 tracks. But I don't know if you guys remember, this didn't come out in the States. It came out in the UK first.
Yeah,
And
that's why
maybe
that's why
Canada
it says
first, I don't
92
know.
on it.
Yeah, but and then it came out on Relativity in the States. And I remember having to buy the import when it came out. And the Relativity version was, I don't know, 4 or 5 months later, something like that.
Yeah.
But it's grown on me. I think it's a really solid record. And so it's at my number 9.
All right, cool. Tim?
So my number 9 is XX20, whatever. The idea is that it was 20 years. You know, it
Right.
wasn't a 20th album, but I think there's some really strong material on this. Going Home was a new song. I think it's the only one of the
Yeah.
new songs that they recorded. It was supposed to be the return of Bobby Kimball. It was recorded in 89, I should say. It was recorded in 89 because they tried to get him back in the band. And I think it's a fantastic song, but they had a lot of problems with CBS Sony, specifically, I want to say Donnie Yen, he just had it in for them. Read Steve Lukather's book, The Gospel According to Luke. He's got a lot to say about that. Also, why Kingdom of Desire ended up released on Relativity and why his first solo album didn't come out in the States and all of that. But anyway, Going Home, great song. I really like Tale of a Man. That dates back, I think, to the Hydra period, or maybe it would have ended up on Turnback, but it's a Toto rocker. They did it in concert. It's on that Live in Tokyo. Really like Last Night. That's a great Joseph Williams song. That would have, to me, that would have livened up Fahrenheit quite a bit. In a Word is a B-side, I think it was the B-side of Till the End. It was a B-side of one of the Fahrenheit singles. Right Part of Me is a great ballad. They say in the liner notes it was sort of a tribute to Elton John. And when you hear that in mind, it kind of makes sense.
Those background vocals, yeah.
Yeah. On the Run, it's live, but it was a new song. I really like that one. That's a sort of a fast shuffle. Yeah, I don't. A lot of these songs are 70s era, like Miss Sun, which Boz Scaggs actually ended up recording. Love is a Man's World. That one's kind of weird, but catchy. Some of them are, because there's such long, here's late 80s, here's late 70s, here's mid 80s. I don't think it holds together quite as well as The Old Is New, but I think the songs individually, song for song, are really, really good. So that's
Grant,
my number 9.
Grant, if you don't mind me jumping in real quick, there's something I wanted to say when I was talking about Kingdom of Desire.
Sure.
I used to, one of my earliest TV jobs, we used to have a video music show. And my friend Chris Harris, who's now a DJ down in Florida, got permission for us to interview Lukather when when they came to Atlanta for this tour. And he conveyed a lot of disgust at Sony for making them put the vocalist Jean-Michel Byron on those Past to Present, or I think is that what that's called? The blue one. And so Lukather said, his quote was, "Well, for a while there, it was just kind of singer du jour. So I just decided that I was just going to do it. It was just less trouble."
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to say
they
that
had a terrible time with that Byron guy, and he's never done a thing since.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say it because it doesn't come up in any of these. Those 4 songs on that best of are crap.
Yeah, they're
I
not
don't
good.
like any of those songs.
There's like one that comes close to being good, but it doesn't get there.
They don't sound a thing like Toto. They sound
No.
totally R&B, and I don't know. The label sold them a bunch. They said, "Hey, let's try this. We'll give you a bunch of money." It didn't pan out. So to me, that ruined a perfectly good best of.
Yeah, and this was years later, and a couple of years later, like 3 years later, and Lukather was still rolling his eyes whenever he talked about him. So
Yeah. Not a good moment in the band history. All right. Cool. All right. My number 9. We are at number 9, right, gentlemen?
Yes.
Tambu, I'm going to go with that. 9th studio album. Todd's already talked about it. First album to feature Simon Phillips on drums. I like this better than Kingdom of Desire. We're down to a quartet, it's like I said, this isn't the top period. This isn't the best period in Toto's career. But man, do I love the artwork on this cover. We mentioned that before. I love that. I know we just talked about the singer situation, but I think that's what they really need in this period. A strong frontman, even someone who really can sing and really carry the songs. Steve's basically doing it on this one, but it's not as heavy as Kingdom of Desire. It's a little bit more, it's less Steve and it's more not as guitar oriented. It's more Toto in the along the lines that you expect from Toto. So I like it better, not by much. But I do think the songwriting's pretty good, and I do think that the playing's great. But again, with this whole middle period, I don't think that there's anything on this record, particularly for me, that sticks out so much. It's just a pleasant listen. Put it on, jam away with it, and just enjoy it. But it's not like some of the albums we are going to be talking about later in our catalog. So that would be my number 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a mess. All right, Tim
All
Durling,
right.
number 8.
Nope,
Oh,
Todd.
Todd Evans, number 8.
Sorry, I'm so excited to talk about this
You
one.
talked
I
about
really
you got
wanted
me.
this.
You got me out of order, so it's all right.
I
it's
really
all right.
wanted this to be higher, but I just couldn't put it higher. And that's Old is New. I love Old is New. I think Devil's Tower and Spanish Sea are so good. And Struck by Lightning is just, I mean, it's got that little trick in there where there's the Lukather's riff, and then he plays it once, and then the next time he plays it, it's like a half step higher, so it's like out of tune. That is so cool. There's so many little tricks like that on this record for being just, something to put out that's a bunch of tracks that they finished later. There's so many charming little hooks and things in these songs. And unfortunately, that last song kind of keeps it from going higher than the one that I have next to talk about. And that's the What's So Not in Toto featuring Skrillex, Will Keep On Running. Sounds like Imagine Dragons to me.
That's
And
that's a good
never a good
comparison.
thing.
Yeah.
You're right.
But man, are
Good
these
point.
songs good. These songs are so good. And this record, produced by Toto and Joseph Williams, man, it has no right to be as good as it is. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, put a proper Toto backing track on that. Will Keep On Running. You might have something there, but
Yeah.
okay. So my number 8, 1979, the second album, Hydra. A lot of people will call this Toto's quote unquote prog album. I think really what they're referring to is the first couple songs, Hydra
Right.
and St. George and the Dragon. And I think mostly it's because of the title. They're very on Toto like titles, but I really, really enjoy both of those tracks. If you want to laugh, look at some of those old videos. There is a video for St. George and the Dragon. 99, fantastic. 99 is a fantastic song. It's one of the first songs I ever heard from them. I'll just try to make this quick. My mother won a record from a department store because she bought a certain greeting card or whatever, and they gave her, it was not a K-Tel record, but I think it was Ronco. It was called Sound Express, and it was one of those multi-disc, multi-band things, and it had like Cheap Trick and Robert Palmer and Hall & Oates, and it had 99 on it. So that might have been the first song I ever heard from Toto. Not sure. But anyway, it's a great song. I love White Sister. I think that's a fantastic track on side too. I will agree with Todd that All Us Boys is laughably bad. I think musically it's a pretty good rocking track, but lyrically it's juvenile. And I'm sorry, I don't buy the bad boy thing coming from David Page. I just don't.
Of all of them.
Come on, he's a
Chubby guy
bad
pounding
boy.
away on the piano. It's not I can't picture David Page burning rubber and leaving hot tires behind.
Good.
Anyway, I do think it's a good track though. But yeah, I obviously it's number 8. There's ones I like more, but I do quite like a lot of the songs on here. But Todd is right. The first 3 songs are the best. That's my number 8.
Excellent. Well, my number 8, I'm going to go with Toto 14. Tim, do you have that hand? Does anybody have that handy? You could flash that because I don't have it. There it is. Toto 14, which was the last record that came out on Frontiers. Hey, I like this record quite a bit, but everything has to appear somewhere. This I would almost describe as smooth prog or prog adjacent to some degree. This is the band basically going, you know what? Let's just do what we want to do. That's the way I hear this record. It just seems like, we're getting the end of the career. We've got a record. We've got one record for Frontiers. Let's just do it. It marks the return of Joseph Williams on vocals, Steve Porcaro's back. David Hungate. It's great. This album is very enjoyable to listen to. I really don't have anything negative to say. There are no hits here. It's just great music, good songwriting, good playing, good production. One thing you can say about all these Toto albums is that they all sound great. I mean, this is not a band that goes into things, so to speak, half-assed. They put in their all on all this stuff. Certain things work out better than others, but think about it. This late in the band's career, was this 2015? I think this is a great record. Now, I like some of the other stuff better, and I keep saying that, but I would totally recommend this for anybody looking to get into later Toto. If you're getting into later Toto, I totally would recommend this record. It's very enjoyable, but the problem is, it's hard to find. If you want a physical copy of it, you just can't go out and get it, which is kind of surprising considering it came out in 2015. But if you know anything about Frontier Records, well, you better get it while you see
an album that's on Frontier's Records, get it
while you can get it.
This one pressing.
But I've said this before. I don't want to go too long, but I really do like what Frontiers does with artists. There's been so many artists that have, like, this is a perfect example. Honeymoon Suite's a good example. The Blue Oyster Cult albums that came out on Frontiers. I think Frontiers just lets the band do what they want to do. And if you let the band do what they want to do, you get good results. That Honeymoon Suite album, Clifton, help me, Tim. We did a show on
Clifton Hill, yeah.
Clifton Hill, phenomenal.
All
Honeymoon
the new Night
Suite
Ranger albums are on Frontiers. Those are all fantastic.
Great. We ranked those on Sea of Tranquility. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But yeah, if you can seek this out, I would recommend it. Totally recommend it. They just seem at ease with themselves. It just seems they're at ease being the elder statesmen, and they just do what they want to do. So
and if you can't find it, stream it or buy the downloads, buy it from iTunes or Amazon or
but you
totally
need it.
worth having.
You need to have it. I mean, number 8 seems low for me, but it's really not. We're getting into the really good stuff as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, I can only think of one exception to that Frontiers letting the artists hand in whatever they want thing, and that's that Boston album. But that's a whole other show. It actually is a whole other show.
Yeah,
that's a horrible record.
Utterly forgettable
for the most part.
Back to the positive. My number 7 is also Toto 14, and man, what a great cover. I love that cover.
It's great.
But this album is great. Man, Running Out of Time, Burn, and Holy War are great, man, and Great Expectations. But my favorite Toto song is on this album, and that's Orphan. Orphan to me is perfect. Every note, every word is perfect. The lyrics are compassionate and empathic without being political. It's just beautiful, and it's my favorite track of theirs. I just think that it's a masterpiece. If I'm not mistaken, that was started many years ago and finished for this. I just think this is great. Toto 14.
All right, there you go. Cool. All right, Tim.
So I wrote these down. I didn't look at the numbers. I swear I did not plan it this way. But my number 7 is the 7th one. And I gotta say, as of filming this, I literally just found this on vinyl 3 days ago. I was so happy to find it. Yeah.
Nice. There's a new pressing of that too, which is cool. That helps.
This is an original Canadian pressing on Columbia. This should have been a big album for them. I think it's way better than Fahrenheit. I think it's got more variety. It does have some more rocking songs on it. Joseph Williams, this is the second time around with them. Pamela was the first single. I think they were trying to recapture some of the magic of Rosanna, but I think it's a good song in its own right. Stop Loving You should have been a huge hit single. To me, that's just a perfectly written song, but it wasn't the right climate, and apparently the record label just pulled the plug, and it didn't even certify. Pamela was a mid-chart hit, got to like 22 or so. I think that to this day in concert they always do Home of the Brave. That's a great, that's like an epic track. Only the Children is a great melodic rocker for them. Anna, another great ballad from Steve. Stay Away's kind of a cool song. Got Linda Ronstadt on background vocals. This is a really strong album, and it's a shame that it kind of died and is harder to find. That's my number 7.
Good. All right, my number 7. Okay, I wasn't sure where to put this, but my rankings have changed. But considering that this came out after Toto IV, I expected more, and I'm going with Isolation. Produced by the band. Mike Porcaro's playing bass on this one, and this is the first record that Ferguson comes in replacing Bobby Kimball. And Bobby Kimball, like I mentioned, was so distinctive, and I think had so much to do with the sound of Toto. When he left, I think they had lost a lot of personality. Now, when I listen to this, if we would have had Kimball on the vocals on here, I think this might have been a much better record. But we've got Fergie, and Fergie's a good vocalist, don't get me wrong. But they become more of a faceless band at this point. Not that anybody really knew who these guys were. You could plaster these guys on an album, on a magazine cover, and people, they always said Foreigner was faceless. Hell, Toto's even more faceless. But they lost a lot of personality. They lost a lot of what made them Toto with this record. This could be Journey or Later Day Chicago for all that matters. But songwriting's good. Carmen's good. Lion, Stranger in Town, Angel Don't Cry. I don't really have a problem with the material. After all, I rated it 7, but it does suffer because it should have been, God, after they did Toto IV, they were on a winning streak. This should have been a home run, but it's not. So it is what it is. But not a bad record. Definitely you need it if you want to get into Toto. You need this record. But number 7, and I'm good with it being at number 7. So Todd,
Number 6 for
number
me
6
is Falling in Between. Falling in Between started on my ranking at number 12. And as I re-listened to it, it moved up 7 times. I was scribbling out and changing the number and scribbling out and changing the number. Falling in Between might be the best engineered album. It's a top 5 out of all rock albums as far as how well engineered it is. It just sounds fantastic. And man, that last minute of Dying on My Feet, where you've got James Pankow from Chicago and the horn section just on fire, absolutely on fire. Bottom of Your Soul is beautiful. One of the songs, I don't have a physical copy of this. I don't remember which one it is. Is it, I think it might be Bottom of Your Soul that you can hear Joe Williams in the background, and it makes a difference.
I think that's right. Yeah.
It makes it sound like Joe's back, which I actually think that Bobby Kimball's a great voice, but I actually think that Joe's has a little bit more personality than Bobby Kimball's does, but it's the right timbre that when you hear it, you think, okay, it sounds like Toto again. So
Joe can sing the Bobby songs in concert. It doesn't sound wrong.
Yeah. So I love this album. I think it's great. It has grown on me. When I first heard it, I was kind of lukewarm on it, but every time I hear it, I like it more and more. And so Falling Between has moved up to number 6.
All right, cool.
And I do not have a copy. I downloaded it from eMusic. Remember eMusic?
Oh yeah.
God,
it's hard to find.
I do not remember that
promo copy. I had a hard time finding it, and I'm still trying to find the Falling in Between live CD.
Yep, I was not able to find it back then, and I downloaded it from eMusic, and that's all I'd had all these years.
Wow.
So my number 6 is Turn Back. Third Toto
Is that
album.
a promo?
Yeah, that is a promo stamped 8-track.
Cool.
I've never seen that in my life.
Now somebody could have made it up. I don't
think so. Look at it.
That is something. Half of it's missing, but it looks like it's owned by CBS.
That is a promo
unlawful promotion only. But yeah. So when I was getting into Toto, which would have been like circa 93, obviously I knew the first album, self-titled, knew Toto IV. I knew about Hydra, and I was like, well, what was the third Toto album? And this was not the days of Google it. There was no Googling. I happened to come across this album on cassette. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's the third Toto album. I got to say, guys, my phone is dying. My phone's dying.
Uh-oh.
and it's plugged in too, so I don't know what to do.
Keep going. You're all right.
Anyway, so I found the cassette. I love the simplicity of this cover, and I really like this album. I really like this album. It was a huge flop. It didn't even certify. But I think that it's got, Live for Today, great catchy song. I really like Think I Could Stand You Forever. I think it's got some good ballads on it. If It's the Last Night, Million Miles Away. I really like Goodbye Eleanor. I love this. You got to see the video for that song, which is them doing the song in the studio. Good. It's a different recording. And at the end, Jeff Porcaro does this huge drum fill. And when he does that final cymbal crash, he chucks his sticks and gets up and walks away. It is so badass. Anyway, yeah, I think it's an overlooked album. I can see why it didn't have any obvious hits on it, but you can put it on and hey, yeah, that's pretty good. And it's the classic Toto lineup. So that's my number 6, Turn Back.
So my number 6 is going to be, I'm going to piggyback on what Tim Durling said. I'm going to go with Turn Back from 1981. Everything Tim said is true. And also everything that Todd said was true. Those Jeff Workman drums, what is up with Jeff Workman? Does he need to go back to engineer school? But he does have a distinct tonality. I'll give you that. Yeah. US Billboard 200, this only got up to 41. And like Tim said, I don't think this certified. This is one of those Toto albums no one really knows about. Yeah. But this came out after Hydra. This is the arena rock album. If there's anything you want to classify as arena rock, it's this. If you like arena rock, this is your Toto. I don't really have any issues with it. Bobby Kimball's on it. This is we're getting late in the career. We know after Toto IV, Bobby's gone. But this, even though it's arena rock, sounds like Toto. I'm in. And the more I listen to this record, the more I like the songs. I think the best song on this record is English Eyes. I think it's top notch. But Gift with a Golden Gun's not bad. I really don't have a problem with it. It's not quite as memorable as what came before, but I think it just needs to have more listens. And some albums, you just have to listen to them before they reap some reward.
Definitely not as immediate.
No.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention one thing because I was worried about my phone. There's one part, I think one of Bobby Kimball's best vocal parts is in English Eyes, when it kicks back in for the final verse and he's like, Red Sky Wanted, much higher than I just did. It rips. I really like that part.
I don't have a problem. Yeah, I understand what Todd's saying. I get it. It's not a record for everybody, but at least it still sounds like Toto. Classic.
I think
Toto
Lukather called it their arena rock album.
He did.
Yeah.
It's what it sounds like to me. It sounds more like arena rock. I mean,
that's why they got Jeff Workman for that slushy
head game
Journey
sound.
Foreigner drum set. It's probably their worst sounding album.
Yeah. I think they didn't know quite what to do after the success, the failure of Hydra compared to the debut. The debut hit it out of the park. And I just think Toto just has a problem with this. They have a failure and then they just don't know what to do. And this isn't the only band like that. A lot of these bands get hit with an album that doesn't take off and they just try to struggle to regain their footing. I
think they probably just said, well, let's just simplify everything, just do a rock album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully it takes off. Well, it didn't, but I still like some of it. And, I like Bobby Kimball, so I'm down. I'll listen to it and I don't have much problem with it. All right, we're on to number 5. We're getting up there.
All right, my number 5, Fahrenheit, from somebody who their favorite Toto singer is Joseph Williams. Of course, I'm going to put this pretty high up.
There you go.
I think that it actually, till the end, and We Can Make It Tonight, and I Can't Stand It Any Longer, are just absolutely stellar recordings. And there's so much going on in those songs and the arrangements, and there's so much energy in them, and they're so well recorded that this album kind of, till the end, knocked my socks off when I first heard it. I like I'll Be Over You a lot. There are a couple of Lukather ballads, and we'll talk more about this when we get towards this particular album that has one that I don't really care for that everyone else loves. But I'll Be Over You is one of my favorites as far as
it's great
as Luke's ballads are concerned. And Somewhere Tonight and Could This Be Love? Again, Could This Be Love has this super, it's not a heavy song, but it's got this super heavy, crunchy rhythm guitar part that I really like. And Don't Stop Me Now, holy cow, Miles Davis.
Yeah.
Photo album. I think that's probably because of the Columbia up here. I think that's how they were able to make that score. But I like Fahrenheit a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's my number 5.
Good one. I like it. All right, Tim.
Okay, so I'm mentioning one no one else has mentioned yet, which means everybody's gonna think it's quite low. But we're in the top 5, so we got to think all of these are pretty amazing, and I do. So I'm going with the debut, 1978. Hold the Line is a song that it doesn't matter how many times I've heard it. It's a perfect song. And there are some songs that to me are just, they're perfectly written, they're perfectly played, they're perfectly recorded. I want to air drum, I want to air bass, I want to air guitar, I want to attempt to sing. I love that song to death.
The line holds up.
It's a classic for the ages. But it doesn't stop there. I'll Supply the Love is fantastic. That was the second single, almost hit the top 40, but it's one of those songs that betray the fact that it's a rock song that came out in the late 70s because they feel the need to put a disco groove in there. The verses to that song are totally disco. But I love the end of it. That's a little bit prog. Like you got to have some chops to do that. You know, the disco thing, you might think, oh yeah, well, yeah, but there's just that song. No, there's a lot of songs. Listen to Jane by Jefferson Starship. The bridge in that song, All Those Nights We Spent Together, that's a disco groove. Just as quickly it goes out of it, but it's like they couldn't help themselves. Even Bad Company's Rock and Roll Fantasy, it's got a little disco in it. They couldn't escape it. Even if you said, no, we never do a disco song, you're putting the disco elements in. Anyway.
I love it on that record, though.
As David Page says, it's disco time. One of the songs on the XX record. I love Manuela Run. I think that's an overlooked gem. Girl Goodbye, that's one of their best rockers. Great vocal from Bobby Kimball on that one. Angela's an interesting song. Very melancholy. I've always wondered what that song was about. But yeah, really melodic. The only thing the one thing that keeps this album from going any higher for me is Georgie Porgy. I hate that song.
Oh, no.
I've never liked it.
That is a yacht rock classic.
It's so bloody repetitive. I really wish David Page had given that one to Boz Scaggs.
Well, Boz could have pulled it off. I'll give you that.
Just my opinion. I could do without 3 minutes of Cheryl Lynn singing Georgie Porgy Puddin' Pie because the girls made him cry. Anyway,
so
that's my number 5.
We could take him off of that stream. I love it. I like George. I love it.
Look, just my opinion. Just my opinion.
I know. I'm just giving you crap, Tim. I love you. You know that. I'm not giving you shit.
Yeah, I know that's a controversial opinion. People love that song. I'm with the have-nots on that one. I love it. I literally love everything else on that debut. Very strong. Very strong.
Excellent. Wow. Holy crap. Am I up? I guess I'm up.
Yeah.
All right. My number's 5. I'm going to go with the 7th one. I love this record. Joseph Williams hits it out of the park. The song Pamela, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I would put that up there with one of the best tracks in the Toto canon in their catalog. I love it. It's almost this is almost like part 2 to Fahrenheit for me. It's kind of like both of these records to me sound like they could go hand in hand to some degree. I really can't find any. I'm looking. Let me look at some tracks. Anna, very Chicago-like strong ballad. Mushka, very slick. I love that.
Yeah.
Mushinga. See, we're all going to butcher it. Mushanga, whatever it is. Very slick, but I dig that middle 8. Stay Away's we actually have a rocker on the Toto album. I think that's a wonderful song. Straight to the Heart. I'm going to throw this out, gentlemen. What's that drum beat sound like to you?
It sounds like Walking on Sunshine.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I wrote down.
Yeah.
And I thought that I just got a chuckle out of that, but I don't have. We're at the point where I can't. These were hard because I don't have any issues with any of these records where I'm ranking now. I love this record. Go out and get this. I know it didn't perform as well on the charts, but it's great Toto. As far as I'm concerned, great Toto. I don't have to go much more into it. It's in my top 5, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. All right, Todd. I guess we're number
Okay.
4.
My number 4 is Isolation. The thing about this album is there's the hype sticker, by the way.
Yeah, is that an original pressing?
It is.
Look at you.
The thing about this album is I'm a big fan of Toto songs that have little instrumental flourishes, those little dazzling things that they do where you just go, wow, how'd they? And I think this album has the most of them. Harmon and Lion together. Boy, those songs absolutely cook. They're just on fire during both of those songs. This messes me up because I'm going to look at the computer because the songs are all mixed up on the back cover of this album. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that. But Stranger in Town, I think is fantastic. I love hearing David Paich sing that. I think the video is great. It looks dated now, but at the time I thought the video was great. I just think that that's a great song. And it was, I'm not sure of its chart position, but at the time that it came out, it seemed like it was more popular than it actually was. It's actually, let's see.
30,
oh my gosh, number 30. Yeah.
In
But
Canada, it reached number 18.
okay, it seems like they played it a lot. So, but man, Angel Don't Cry is great. How Does It Feel? Another Luther ballad that I think is way underrated, and I think it's much better than the one on the really big popular album that everybody loves that I'll talk about later. I think Endless is great, Isolation is great, Mr. Friendly is great, but Change of Heart, oh my gosh, Change of Heart might have the best bridge out of any rock song I've ever heard. It's absolutely spectacular, the bridge, with the strings and the keys and all that stuff happening. It's every one of these songs has a little surprise in it that makes you, especially if you're a musician, it makes you really take note of what's going on. I just think it's really well done. I think that you could give it knocks for not being the right album to follow up Toto IV with. I think that's a pretty fair criticism. But as a rock album, it's good. I really like it. I think it's really strong. So Isolation is my number 4.
Excellent. All right, Tim, number 4.
So my number 4 is Toto XIV. I've made this statement several times. A band of this age, of this vintage, has no business making an album this good this late into their career. It's astounding. It's amazingly good.
It really is.
It is so strong. Every song on this is just compelling and hooky, and it gets in your head. It's really hard to pick out specifics, but Burn is amazing. When Running Out of Time first comes on, that could be Satriani or Vi. That's what that reminds me of. But it very quickly turns into a great Toto rocker with Joseph Williams singing at his best. Unknown Soldier, what a powerful epic ballad that is. And Steve Lukather comes in, Steve Porcaro comes in with this delicate little thing, The Little Things, which I think is just a sweet, honest ballad. And it's really like, when I hear the key in the door, like it's just very, it's very sentimental, and I really like it. Chinatown is another minor epic. I like the fact that it's got David singing on it, it's got Luke singing on it, and it's got Joe singing on it. It's really, really cool. I have to think though, I think maybe one of the reasons they didn't put it out back then is the chorus hook. Down in Chinatown, it's almost a little bit too much like 99. It's almost a little too close to that.
Yeah,
that might have been why they sat on it, but it's a great song. I like Fortune. That's a really, really cool. I
forgot to mention Fortune.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's a really, really good album. I mean, yeah, I really want to get this on vinyl just to solidify, but that's not cheap. You pay the late tax on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm really surprised, but there's just nothing to keep this from being any lower. So this is my number 4. The sad thing is, because it's on Frontiers, it'll never get on comps, and they don't seem to do any songs from it live. So, but I'm telling you, don't sleep on this album if you've lasted this far, because it's fantastic.
Yeah. unheard of, like you said, that late in their career to put out
Yeah.
such a solid record.
And now that whole story about them owing Frontiers one more album, I don't know if I buy that, but it made for a good press release.
Maybe.
I mean,
I
maybe
don't know.
true.
I
just don't know. I just don't know.
I think
But you know-
Frontiers just let you do whatever you want. If you want to put out another record and you're
But I think
a
they really
legacy
wanted to have a
band, just go
story
for it.
and say, okay, we're going to get as many of the old guys back as we can. But anyway, yeah, I cannot say enough of good about Toto 14.
And another amazing thing about 14 is that it's really DIY. It was produced by CJ Vanston, who was just one of their buddies who produced a couple of the Lukather solo
Yeah,
albums.
it's just sterling sounding. It's
no big names were brought in or anything.
No, it's perfect though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change a thing on it. Yeah, it is what it is. All right, cool. My number 4, I'm gonna go with well, I love this record. God, I think Tim Durling said it was a bit mellow, but I'm gonna go with Fahrenheit. I think this record's brilliant. Joseph Williams, God, Todd, you're so 100% on Joseph Williams. Just absolutely, really. What a great replacement for Bobby Kimball.
And what a great legacy to come from. Is that the right word I'm looking for? Pedigree, maybe, to be John Williams.
The son of John Williams. I mean,
it's just awesome.
Well, it's in the bloodline, I guess. But this, like I said, we talked about this already. This album really didn't sell, but I think there's a lot of great material here. And Joseph Williams, great fill-in for Bobby Kimball. Till the end, I listened to that. You know what? I always love to play this game. You know what that kind of reminds me of? Kenny Loggins. It's like a Kenny Loggins single.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with it.
No.
Kenny during this time was selling a lot of records.
Yeah.
Keep going, Toto. That's a good job. But I think Without Your Love, I think that's a yacht rock classic. I love it.
That's late period yacht rock, yes.
But is it fit right in?
It totally does.
It totally does. Toto is one of those bands that are always going to be grouped into that. Fahrenheit, that one, Fahrenheit, that track is that's one of the tracks I'm not so into. It's very dated now. It's very poppy. It's very cool. It is catchy, but it kind of dates everything. For the most part, I like when Steve's singing vocals on this. I like it. I like this era of Steve Lukather singing. It's just I have an issue with the later stuff. But this, other than Fahrenheit, I really can't pick it apart. I'll Be Over You. Oh, dang, that's a good song. That is a great song. This record should have been huge, but it wasn't. It just is.
Took about 8 years to certify gold.
Can you imagine as good as this record is? It took that long.
Yeah.
It is. It just goes to show you the music industry and the record buying public just don't make sense. Yeah. But it's a good record. I would highly recommend it. Yeah, it's a bit mellow. It's them pushing for a hit, but man, the hits that are on here, it's good stuff. So there you go. That's my number 4. Made it through that. All right, number 3.
Top 3. Toto. When me and my buddies heard this record in 1978, I mean, I was in 1978. I was in 8th grade, I think, when this came out. Steve Lukather wasn't much older than me. Steve Lukather, I think, was 16 or 17 when this album came out. And that Child's Anthem and I'll Supply the Love just absolutely blew us away. We were like, where did these people come from? But there are so many. It's easy to think of this album and think of just the singles, but there are so many great songs on it. I happen to love Georgie Porgy, but the reason I like it is not because of the chorus, which I actually sort of also kind of don't like, but I just love the way the song sounds, and it sounds like really good players. Those when you think of
smooth,
it's smooth. Players, when you hear the smoothness of it, that's real, and that silence, I love it.
You gotta have your chops for that.
It's brilliant.
I saw Toto in 1999, I think, when Bobby Kimball had come back. I saw him in Ventura, California. And because they were in California, Cheryl Lynn was there.
Oh wow.
And she sang the Georgie Porgy part. And then after that, they did a version of To Be Real, which is like her big hit song. And that was Toto
Which
played it.
David Pace wrote.
Yeah, which
They
David Pace
probably
wrote.
all
And
played on
so
it.
Yeah.
I
they
consider
probably-
myself really lucky to have seen that because it was awesome. But Manuela Run is great. All these songs, Girl Goodbye, even Taking It Back is great. Rockmaker is great. Angela is really cool because it starts out as this really quiet ballad, and then it's got that kind of rocking part in the
Yeah.
middle. I absolutely love that. The one thing that keeps this record from being number two and number one or number one is You Are the Flower. Oh my gosh, is You Are the Flower for My Rain the worst lyric ever? I'm almost embarrassed to say it. Holy
I don't know if
cow.
diet pills, female thrills, but Mama never told you about all us boys. I think that's worse.
Yeah, you're right. They're like this. But
Yeah.
they'll do a song like this on another album that I'll talk about in a minute. That's better, the same kind of song, but better. But yeah, number 3.
All right.
Never get tired of it.
All right, Tim, you're 3.
Okay, so people are starting to wonder, boy, I see what he hasn't mentioned. Has he lost his mind? Okay. My number 3 is 4, Toto 4.
Oh, he might have lost his mind.
I mean, it's a pretty perfect album. There's a reason that when it
Yeah.
starts with Rosanna and ends with Africa. I mean, but I think there are strong songs that people don't know, not enough people know, like Afraid of Love. Afraid of Love reminds me of 38 Special. And I mean, and I like
100%, 100%.
I think that's a bad, but when he comes in with the vocal, and I happen to really like Steve Lukather's vocals. I think he's got a perfectly fine voice. It's not the high tenor voice, and they always wanted that up front, but I haven't got a problem with his vocals. I think that Make Believe was like a number 30 single, and I think that should have done a little bit more. I think that's just a catchy song. Another song on here that I think they should have pushed as a single is Good For You. I really like that one too. But I mean, I don't have much to say that you guys won't have to say about it. It's a fantastic album. Rosanna and Africa still hold up after all these years. There's a reason those songs are evergreen. So yeah, that's my number 3.
Excellent. Well, my number 3 is, when we talk the sophomore slump, this is definitely considered a sophomore slump record. And I'm going to go with Toto Hydra. I'm rating this higher because it's something about the tonality of the record that I like. This era, I love this era. Came out in 1980. This was produced by Tom Knox, Reggie Fisher, and Toto. Tom did some other work for them and some other records, but the song 99 is a brilliant. Come on. I could listen to that song all day and never get tired of it. Hell, based on that song, I would rate it high. But Hydra, I think probably what made this a sophomore slump is that they kind of went a little bit more experimental on this record. And I think a lot of people, when they heard it, they went, like, you listen to the opening track Hydra and you just go, well, what's this?
Yeah.
This isn't,
They probably should have put that stuff on side 2.
They should, instead of opening it with it. And I think that might have thrown some people off. I was looking at All of Us Boys was actually released as a single. Can you believe
I know there's
that?
a video
It
for it.
was.
There's
Never
a video
saw
for
it.
it.
Maybe I've seen it. But
It
yeah,
doesn't help.
so St. George and the Dragon's good, 99's good, Lorraine's good. I don't have any problem with this record. In fact, it's my number 3. I don't have a problem with it. I like the way it sounds. I like all the tracks on it, except maybe All the Boys. That is a little bit.
The thing about St. George and the Dragon, Grant, if you wrote different lyrics for that, there's a catchy song there. They might have had a hit with that if they'd have made a more straightforward lyric instead of "Can you tell me where I might find the Hydra?"
But
I like it.
But if you think about it, if you're in 1980, you're looking at the new Toto album came out and you look at that cover.
Yeah.
Does that
I used to think that was Steve Lukather.
Yeah, kind of. But
I used to think it was Steve Percaro.
That's what it looks like. Does that scream by me? I don't think it looks like a Prog album. And you look at the track listing, St. George and the Dragon. Come on.
I want to say something about that because I rated this low.
I know.
I think this is artistically, I think this is a really good cover. I like the font that everything's written in. I like this
the lyrics
logo. I like the inside. I like
Yeah.
these little pictures where they're like period pictures, like from the past.
It
Where
looks
they're
like yes, close to
I
the
love
edge.
Steve. Yeah, I
Yes.
love Steve Porcaro like burning the manuscript, and Jeff Porcaro's got a girl, and I love that.
It's
Yeah.
close to the edge. And I
Yeah.
think people thought
It's-
this was something else than what they were getting.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
I
was
don't-
not the best marketing decision.
No, and I think that's what killed it, even though there's some great tracks on it. But hell, it's still my number 3. So there you go. And just goes to show you, it ranked a lot lower on the other rankings. But hey, just goes to show you what a strong catalog we're dealing with. So
Yeah.
there you go. All right. On to number 2.
Okay, number 2 for me is Toto IV. And I thought about putting this lower. I really did, but I can't because it's not that I don't think that this album has a couple of low points, because I think it does, but the high points are just so good. I mean, Rosanna, I get a new piece of gear. I just got a new turntable. So I've been playing Toto IV a lot. If you get a piece of new gear and you want to test it out, the way this album is recorded is just blows me away. That when he says Rosanna, there's a sparkle on his voice that when you hear it, you go, oh, this is a good turntable, or this is a good cartridge, or there's something about it that's just make believe sounds so good. But I want to talk about I Won't Hold You Back. This is the song that everybody goes gaga over. This is the big look at their ballad. It's not my favorite. It's like 5th or 6th after a whole bunch of albums that come out after it. It's a great song. It's got the string arrangement is beautiful, but I think melodically it doesn't have the melodic quality that I'll Be Over With You, I'll Be Over You, and How Does It Feel, and some of those later songs has. But It's a Feeling is great. I think It's a Feeling is Steve
I
Porcaro's
love
best song.
that. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And Waiting for Your Love is the You Are the Flower, but much better.
Yeah, that's like that got such a cool little R&B groove to it.
Yeah, it does. It really
And I love
does.
how it starts because it's got a foot. It's like
Yeah.
Could be a George Benson song.
Well, for somebody who likes to listen to drumming, that's a great song. Just to listen to it and just appreciate Jeff Porcaro. But yeah, this is my number 2. So I'm revealing what my number 1 is, I guess.
Yeah, by way of default
elimination.
Same thing here. My number 2 is Kingdom of Desire. This is, I mean, I grew up listening to the radio, so I knew who Toto was. But when I was in my first year of radio broadcasting, we would get samplers sent in, like Sony samplers. And this one came in, had Don't Chain My Heart on it. Now, that is really, really good. I didn't know, I wouldn't have known it was Toto. And actually, the local radio station played it quite a bit. It got quite a bit of airplay. So on a whim, I kind of bought the album. And so, yeah, they went through that debacle with John Michelle Byron, and it didn't work. And I think they just kind of hunkered down and said, let's just make a rock album again. We haven't really done that in a while. And for whatever reason, David Page, I mean, he could have stepped up and sang some lead vocals, but Steve ended up singing everything. And I don't have a problem with that. But I think there are so many songs on here that if this album had come out a little sooner, might have been hits. I think Two Hearts is a great ballad. I mean, we're talking about the era of the power ballad. That could have held its own. I think The Other Side's another good, like mid-tempo, classic Toto sounding ballad. How many times that has like a heavy groove from I don't know where. It's this drop D. It's so good. And yet it's got a melodic chorus, very melodic chorus. Kingdom of Desire, I like the title song. It's I don't want to say it's prog, but it stretches out quite a bit. And Jake to the Bone is just this insanely good instrumental. Yeah, the copy I have is from the UK, and it's got a copyright of 92, and it is on Columbia. So I think their US label. I mean, Relativity was a division of Sony, but it was like that was like the Joe Satriani label. Like that was it wasn't going to get the promotion that a band like Toto would normally get. So I think they just kind of put it out as a sort of a token thing, which is a shame. I think this is a really, really strong album. I think it's a fitting swan song for Jeff Porcaro because he's on fire on this album and he's not showing any signs of slacking. She Knows the Devil, that's got some insane chops in it. I've always gotten a kick out of the little Belle Biv DeVoe Poison reference at the
Yeah.
very end of that song. I'm not the biggest fan of Gypsy Train. I got to be honest with you. I think that the beat's a little clunky. It's like, well, where's the one? But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Too long.
but
too.
never. That, you know, they could have started it off with Never Enough. But anyway, I think this is a good album. That's why I've rated it my number 2. Yeah, it is pretty guitar heavy. That's exactly what I like about it. Now, a catalog of albums like this, it's not Toto anymore, but I like the fact that they, for one album, they said, let's just do a rock album. I guess they kind of did it with Turn Back, but I think this is a more
Different. It's a
version.
different animal. Different animal.
Yeah, and it's very well produced too. It's self-produced. I mean, they know what they're doing. Mixed by Bob Clearmountain. So there you go.
All right. See, we all hear this stuff differently, ladies.
I love the fact that we're all finding good things to say about pretty much all of these albums. Yeah.
Okay, my number 2. I'm going to go with Toto IV. These gentlemen have already covered it. I really don't have anything more to add, but you have to admit, Africa, even though it's been played to death, and we had a cover by Weezer, which they did a fine cover of it. And I actually like that Weezer album. That Weezer album of covers is so much fun. No one talks
I've got
Weezer
the
that
Toto
much.
single of them covering Weezer's Hash Pipe too. That's fun.
Dang, that's great. But there you go. I mean, it's great. Rosanna's great. And I like Steve Lukather's voice on here, but I like it that Bobby Kimball comes in on the end of it. You know, I love that when he comes in on, you know, the verse. What more can I add? This thing won like 3 Grammys. This is the biggest album of '82, practically. But and Thriller.
Except possibly Thriller, which most of those guys played on.
Right.
I don't have to really
Good
go
year
much
for
into
them.
it. These gentlemen have already covered it. We're really going long. I'm keeping it moving. Let's go to our number 1.
Number 1. Number 1 is number 7, the 7th one.
I can see that.
Pamela is so good. It's so good.
It is so good.
And you know, I always, whenever I see the title Anna, I always think that I don't want to. It's too close to Pamela. It's another girl's name song. I always think of it as not being that great of a song until I hear the song, and then I remember how good it is. Stop Loving You is great with John Anderson in it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how do you beat that?
You can't.
Mushenga is fantastic. Stay Away, we've already talked about. Straight for the Heart. But the amazing, and I love Home for the Brave. Home of the Brave, I want to go ahead and talk about it because there's a song that comes before it that I want to talk about more. But Home of the Brave is great. Great arrangement. I love that thing that Toto does where I should say that thing that Jeff does where he hits the crash cymbal on every note. And he does it at the end of Home of the Brave. He goes, and it's so great. I love that. I love that. But these chains, come on. These chains, I could listen to the drum part on these chains, that Percaro shuffle. I could listen to that on an endless loop, just the drum track. It sounds so good. And I think that that's Lukather's best solo, these chains. Man, this album's great.
Yeah,
This
it
album
should have been a huge album.
Should have been a huge album.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should have been huge. And I love it. And since the moment it came out, it's been my favorite.
All right. Excellent. All right, Tim.
So if anybody had seen my Contrarians episode, you'd already know what my favorite is. It's Isolation. I love this album. I think it was probably '87. I saw the video to Stranger in Town for the first time because I don't remember seeing it I don't remember hearing it when it was current, but they did a special of 1 hour of black and white videos, and that was one of the ones they played. I actually like the video mix better than the version that's on the album, but I think the video is really cool. It's like a mini movie. Brad Dourif's in it, and but it's a catchy song. I love the song. You know, David Page's vocals are fine with me. Maybe not hit single material. I just really like the song, but I can see why it wasn't a big pop hit, even though it does have hooks all over it. I love Fergie's interjections at the end. Now, Fergie Fredrickson was an interesting choice for this band because he didn't sound, makes me wonder why they didn't go for Joseph Williams right away after Bobby left or was asked to leave or whatever, because Joseph Williams put a solo album out in 1982. It's not like he wasn't recording.
And he's Lukather's best buddy from high school.
Yeah,
They
so
went to Hollywood High
and he,
together.
you know, and he obviously he was seasoned, right? But I'm glad they had this bit of diversion with Fergie. But Fergie doesn't sound anything like Bobby Kimball. To
No.
me, Fergie almost sounds like he could have stepped into Yes. He's got that high, clear, like John Anderson type vocal. The title song is amazing. I love the mix of piano and guitar on that. Love the way the drums are recorded. Endless. That is such a great, great song. I love the key change at the end of that. How Does It Feel should have been a hit. Should have been a huge hit ballad. Angel Don't Cry is amazing as well. And Toto don't get credit for, you know, they get the faceless corporate rock thing. I didn't know this until a few years ago. There's a video for Angel Don't Cry, and it uses the same, like when Huey Lewis and the News did Hip to Be Square, that video, it was talked about how being so innovative for having those extreme camera angles. Angel Don't Cry uses that 2 years before. It's the exact same thing. There's a word for it. I don't know what it is, but it's just really, they go from extreme close up to like, it's very dynamic filming, but a great song. Yeah, I agree with Todd about Change of Heart. I mean, that's just an excellent song. Mr. Friendly, that is just blistering drums from Jeff on that one.
Yeah.
Holy In is kind of silly, but it's catchy, you know.
I like it as a closer.
Yeah, it's a good closer. I like the whole album. I really do. I can't pick anything apart about this album. It's a shame it only went gold. You know, coming off of like a 4 million seller, I'm really surprised that the momentum didn't at least take it to platinum, and they never really recovered from that, sadly.
No.
But yeah, Isolation to me is just a killer album. And it, you know, Isolation and Kingdom of Desire, I think the reason that those are my two favorites, I've played them probably more than any other album, but I would play those to someone that said, well, you know, I don't really like the pop stuff they do, like Africa or whatever. I really like Hold the Line. I said, if you want to hear Toto at their rocking best, Kingdom of Desire. If you want to hear them at their, you know, rocking best with hooks, Isolation. So that's my number one.
All right.
Isolation.
Oh boy. Well, my number one, I'm just going to go with the debut because I think this is, for me, when I think Toto, what does Toto sound like? What is the Toto sound? This is the record for me. You've got you've got ballads, you've got rockers on here. It runs the gamut. Everything's well played. You know, Child's Anthem, you open up with an instrumental, which is crazy, kind of proggy. I'll Supply the Love. God, you've got those soaring Bobby Kimball vocals, absolutely stunning on this song. This is AOR. It sounds wonderful. It's, if you like Boston, you like Styx, you should like this. Georgie Porgy. I mean, a yacht rock classic, I must say. It's catchy. Yeah, you might think it's kind of silly, but it sold a lot of records. Makes me think of Steely Dan, makes me think of the band Player. Girl Goodbye, a Kimball rocker, a little bit of disco overtone, but scorching guitar on it. And Hold the Line. Tim Durling already mentioned Hold the Line. How this is like one of the first songs I wanted to learn when I was a wee lad taking guitar lessons. It's one of the songs I wanted to learn to play. So this album, being a kid, 13 or whatever, this has a lot of memories and it means a lot to me. So I can't imagine anything else that would be my number one, because I loved this when it came out and I still love it. Angela, I should mention that song. What a great ballad. These gentlemen have already covered it. I don't have much to add, but yeah, when I think Toto, I will always think this record, and it still holds up. And God, all the songs on here are great. And they're catchy because you get the playing, you get the catchiness, and these are songs that you can listen to and easily remember. That's the other thing that makes it so great. So I think I've went on long enough. Gentlemen,
I
we've
just
done
wanted to
it.
mention that we all picked a different number one and none of us picked 4.
Yeah,
I
I
like
think it's
four,
cool.
but
I think that speaks to the strength of the catalog. Between the three of us, we've probably got what, 8 or 9 albums, as you know, that are mentioned in the top 5. So that tells you how strong this catalog is. I mean, yeah. And my one takeaway I want anyone to come up with: go get Toto 14. I don't care how you got to do it. Go listen to it at least.
yeah, I
Yeah.
ranked it more down my list, but it's in that really all the top 8 or something. You could Ask me on a different day. I do
Anybody
think that
in
this will be
top
my
five
number
could have been
one.
number one.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
those are all worth getting. So
Yeah.
I guarantee you that. Wow, that was a long show. I'm not sure if I'm going to split it up into two or not. We'll see. Gentlemen, the panel. Nice job. Thanks for coming on. People watching, we want to hear from you in the comments. What's your thoughts on the Toto catalog? How would you rank them? What are your favorite songs? We do want to hear from you because we will look at those and we will respond. So, based on that, let's wrap this dog up. We ranked the albums of Toto, for God's sakes, and no one got hurt. All right, gentlemen, is there anything? I think we've already said enough. I want to thank the panel. I want to thank Todd and Tim for coming on. What's next in the Warehaus? I have no idea. Look, there he's the fanboy holding his record up. What's next in the Warehaus? God only knows. Something. There's a lot going on this week, so just stay tuned. And I always like to promote this. The Contrarians on Wednesday do live chat. I don't know when this is going on, but always tune in on Wednesday at 7 p.m. on the Contrarians because it's a lot of fun and we like everybody in the chat to interact because it's all about talking music. So come on the Contrarians. Come over there on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Based on that, gentlemen, let's wrap it up. We will see you, and I don't have much more to add. See ya.
Go listen to some Toto.
There you go.
Yep.